Welcome to the Gentle Birth Podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Donegan. I'm a midwife, mom, and founder of Gentle Birth. Join me each week to hear inspiring, uplifting birth stories, learn helpful tips, and get advice from parents and professionals supporting you on your journey to parenthood. Your positive birth begins here. Welcome to the Gentle Birth Podcast. David, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, my name is David Hickey. I'm living in Ireland and I'm a father to two children, Sive and Oren. I'm married to the beautiful Mary Ty.
So David, tell us a little bit about, your experience of birth. And I understand that you chose home birth. So I'm sure our listeners would be really interested to learn more about that.
My wife, actually, Mary, did all the reading and I suppose the bit of research on it at the start. And so she suggested it to me. And I thought, okay, I'll try it a little bit, okay, what exactly is involved here? And then when we met the midwife, I was convinced definitely one of the best things we ever did. It's definitely recommended to anybody.
And oftentimes when I'm speaking to parents about their plans for birth and the option, if they have the option of home birth or hospital birth, there's a lot of fear around home birth and when you don't, understand how the midwives are trained and how skilled they are. So I think sometimes there's a perception that the midwife is just going to show up in with crystals and incense. And so tell me about your experience of meeting the midwife and how that reassured you.
Yeah, and I suppose home birth sometimes is drawn in that kind of realm of mysticism. Midwife that we met was absolutely amazing. She was really good. So she was so professional. Mary Cronin is, I suppose, well known in the area here, and she was just really good at giving all the answers to any question we had, and very honest answers, so around what would happen if or what would happen to us if something happened with the baby and stuff like that. And I just felt really reassured about what way they delivered the service, that I thought, why wouldn't I do this? They just seem to have really checked everything in order to be prepared for the day. It definitely isn't the hippy dippy kind of side of it all.
And what particularly drew you to home birth? After Mary had done some research and shared it with you, have you had a bad experience in hospital, or what was the difference, do you feel, in the kind of care that you received at home?
All right. Yeah, well, see, I suppose in general, we always look at options for ourselves just to see what else is out there. And Mary's brilliant at doing research, so she's always looking around and seeing what else is available. I suppose sometimes I'd just be thinking of run-of-the-mill stuff. When it came to definitely with pregnancy, I think dads have a tendency to fear more. When we looked at the options, we saw the home birth system was really interesting, and it was part of the hospital system here in Cork, which is amazing. And so we kind of went, right, okay, well, let's talk to the midwife. So whereas I may have had some kind of apprehension around it at the start because of my lack of knowledge around it, once I spoke to the midwife, it was absolutely brilliant. And so the home birth system, it was the continuity of care that you have, that we had all the prep work before the birth. We obviously had the same midwife then all the way through the birth. And then the continuity of care then afterwards, with the postpartum stuff, was amazing. It was that link between having a home or a midwife all the way through the system, and so we really got to know her by the time the baby arrived. And they don't take the risks. They really kept prepared for us, but they also monitored everything as it goes along. So it meant then that if anything changed, they were talking to us directly. And I just can't fault it. It was amazing, I suppose, professional experience, but for us personally, to be able to stay at home and do everything as much as we can, it was great.
And how did friends and family react when they heard you were having a home birth?
Oh yeah, well, friends of mine in work now were freaking out because I worked with all men at the time, and they just thought I was bonkers and why would you put your wife at risk and all that kind of stuff. So, and I suppose I was a bit shocked about how they reacted. Family are always quite supportive of what we were doing. And to the point, actually, we had two friends, and Mary's mother was here for the birth. And so that was really good. And one of the friends is a doula. And so she was really helpful. Yeah, I'd recommend a doula for anybody who's considering home birth, or hospital birth, both either way. But yeah, again, that carried through then into the postpartum stage as well. So Yeah, it was I don't think we got too much criticism, mainly from men. I think men are probably as shocked by the idea as I was probably at the start. It's a shame, really, that.
David, tell us about the two very different birth experiences that you had at home.
Okay, yeah, the first birth was brilliant. Look, as a dad, I suppose I was just amazed at how much is involved. But we were ready. We did the reading, the midwives organised us and everything like that. But the first birth ended up as a transfer into hospital. So we did the beautiful home birth experience. Mary went into labour while we were in a restaurant having some food, and we had a lovely meal there with family and friends. And then we went home, and it was just me and Mary there, and everybody went to bed, but we stayed up, darkened the room, had the TENS machine on, we had a kind of a candle lighting, some music. And so all the stuff that we'd learned in, I suppose, the birth preparation class with gentle birth, that really gave us the tools to be ready for it. 6 o'clock the next morning, I was exhausted. Mary was still going through the surges, but she had been falling asleep in between them, which I was amazed at. Like she's always a good sleeper, but like this was amazing that she was able to sleep in between the surges. But then when the midwife came down to me at 6 a.m, I got to go back to bed for a few hours, and she looked after Mary and made sure she had a shower, gave her some breakfast and everything like that. And we just went through a load of stuff throughout the day. We had the pool on, we played music, we were dancing around the kitchen a bit. And it was just really interesting that we were able to do all of this at home. And Mary being able to move around and have the comforts around her, and me have the comforts. And it was just amazing. But unfortunately, it went on a bit too long. And so the midwife, again, this is where they're, I suppose, monitoring everything throughout the day. And she said, look, at this stage now, we think you have to transfer into hospital. And as much as we were kind of prepared for it, we didn't really want it. So she gave us enough notice so that we didn't have to make a decision in 5 minutes. She just told us that if things don't progress in a certain amount of time, that we'd probably have to start considering it. And that's when we had the time then, I suppose, just between the two of us and talking about what options are there. We ended up then having to go in, but once we got into the hospital again, it was I suppose a simple enough system. Like within 3 hours the baby was born, and it was absolutely amazing. Like that was where I saw I suppose the strength in Mary, to be able to go through all of that. Like she'd been up for over 24 hours and she'd been pushing through a lot of that, and I just thought, wow, that's amazing. So we were kind of still undecided about the name of the baby, and of course when she was born and we realised it was a girl, I kind of thought I have no right to be arguing with Mary over what name she wants to pick, because she really did put in all the work, and I was there as a support, but again, without, I suppose, gentle birth tools, I wouldn't have really known how much of a support I could have been. I probably would have just stood there holding her hand, whereas I had an awful more ideas.
So Dave, do you mind if I ask you a little bit more just about the transfer? Because I think when parents are planning a home birth, I think that is a big fear at the back of everybody's mind, that what if we have to transfer? So can you tell us a little bit more about what dilation was Mary transferred at, and what kind of reception did you get at the hospital?
When we were doing the home birth scheme, the midwife, Mary, had said to us, Mary Cronin, that is, rather than Mary, my wife. So Mary had suggested that we go to the hospital tour, so we're familiar enough with the hospital. So if anything happens, that we had to go in. And that was great advice. We had also been told on the gentle birth program, to do some meditation. And there's that brain training element of preparing yourself for all eventualities and being able to react to them and accept certain tasks that came up because something else didn't go according to plan. And that's what we were doing. So as much as we were disappointed about the hospital transfer, we were kind of ready for it as well. And once we got in there, the staff were brilliant. They were very welcoming. It was a fresh crew. We went in just as the shifts had changed. So they were all bright and fresh. And it's probably what we needed rather than the ones at the end of the day, because we were exhausted from, the home birth part of it. But they were brilliant at giving us the drive to keep going. Yeah, and I think we had the music. We brought the music with us. We brought some kind of electric candles and little snacks, and we had essential oils, and Mary makes up essential oils, so that we were able to use them. And Elmarie, our midwife, was able to come in with us. So that was again helpful, because it was that continuity of care all the way through.
Fantastic. And tell us about your second experience.
The second one, Oren, was so fast. We didn't even have a chance to do the pool on this one. It kind of kicked off about 10:30 at night. We were just sitting with our daughter and the surge started. So we started making our way. Mary wanted to be downstairs. And so we went down to the living room where we were setting up the pool, but the midwife had kind of given me a nod that this isn't going to happen, that we wasn't going to get the time to put up the pool or to fill it really. And so we just again used the acupressure points, and we were trying to really keep Mary focused, I suppose, on her ability to get through it, because you could see that was really intense for her, like, you know. And we had a doula again, the same doula as their first child. Yeah, she was brilliant. Yeah, she really looked after Mary while I was trying to, I suppose, organise the room. And then once we had the room set up, yeah, we just got into it. And the midwife was, I suppose, coaching Mary through the birth process while I was supporting Mary through it, and the doula was supporting me. And it was just a nice team effort. But like within 3 hours, I was holding my son on the sitting room on the couch, like, and it was just, yeah, it was amazing. He was born so fast, and again, Mary struggled for a part of it because it was so fast and so strong. But some of the tips that we got with the gentle birth as well was that we were to have, I suppose, as the dad, I was supposed to try and, you know, keep the encouragement going for Mary when she's getting stuck at certain points, like. And one of the things that I learned was that, you know, the encouragement, you know, say you're doing well and all that kind of stuff, which I thought, yeah, okay, I can say it, but like, how much of a difference is that going to make? But when we spoke about the birth afterwards, she told me that when I was whispering that into her ear during the surges, that she felt like it was a whole stadium of people cheering her on, and it really helped her push through. And I thought, that's amazing how such a simple tool could really have such a great effect on her. And like, look, Oren was 9 pounds and 15 ounces, like, so he was a big baby, is what some people would say. But Mary loved it. After he was born, Mary just was in such glee that she was going, oh, that was such amazing. Oh, let's do this again. And like, it just cracked laughter around the room, because we just thought, this is what we all saw as a lovely experience. Oh, yeah, it was great.
Oh, it sounds absolutely fantastic. I'd like to hear more about what kind of comfort measures did you use at home? Because a concern for anyone who is planning a home birth is that, well, there's no epidural available. So what did you do? What did you help Mary with to keep her comfortable during those two very different experiences?
Yeah, and in both experiences, we looked at the pool, which was a brilliant one in the first. So for Sive, it was a brilliant experience in that Mary was able to sit in the pool and relax in it throughout the day, and we kept topping it up with warm water just to kind of keep it comfortable for her. Hot towels as well on her back. The doula suggested that at one stage, and Mary got just such an amazing amount of relief from it. It was great. And then we had aromatherapy as well. We were dancing. We did some acupressure points. We had, I suppose, the food, like giving Mary food was important to keep her strength up, like, and we had water. She had a shower at one stage, and that really brightened her up. And I suppose when you think of it, it works for everybody. Like, having a shower really helps keeping things going. But yeah, Mary really found the shower amazing. Yeah, with Oren, it was the second birth was much faster, so we didn't have the pool part, but we were able to do certain things like the double hip squeeze that she was able to do, that was able to relieve some of the pressure that she had, or the pressure that she felt, and that was amazing to see that work. Now again, the doula showed me how it can be done, and I suppose it was me then putting the pressure in and the strength, and I just watched Mary all the time just to see what she felt was right and what wasn't. And I suppose I let her guide, like I was watching her go through the process, and I thought, if I'll try this and this, or certain things, and then if she liked it, we did it, and if she didn't, then we stopped and we tried to think of something else. And so obviously at the early stages, she was able to tell us what she needed, whereas the later stages, she was really trying to get into the zone of birthing the baby, but we were trying to support that process then. And pool is great if you have the chance to do it. And we used the TENS machine as well, and we also had gentle birth tracks, like along with the music on the phone. We had gentle birth tracks, and that's gone to an app now, which is even better for transferring in or for staying at home. And Mary finds them brilliant because she was able to do the prep work beforehand. so that she was familiar with a lot of the tracks. And then while the birth was happening, she was able to relay those tracks back to her again. There's just so much out there. So I was really just a roadie for the day, I felt like, but very essential roadie.
Download the Gentle Birth app today for your free 7-day trial from the App Store or Google Play.
Interesting question to like to pose to all of my guests is that if you were to give some advice to your younger self, getting ready to welcome your first baby into your family, what kind of advice would you give yourself?
I think definitely be prepared. So do a workshop, because it's impossible to look at all of the options and figure out which ones are best for you. Whereas I think with a workshop, we did the Gentle Birth workshop, and it just gave us a lot of the options. And so therefore we were able to pick what we wanted to go through it. And then just the information, because it's factual based, like it's our evidence based, that we were able to trust what was being said. And it gave me a role in the whole process, whereas I thought I'd be just holding Mary's hand or be a shoulder for her to lean on. Giving me the tips about, like, be ready with the TENS machine, have the pool ready, looking at the essential oils, the laughter, the dancing, all these different things that it was able to give me. I really felt like I could prepare for the day as well. And I didn't wait for Mary to be telling me, oh, look, this is what I want. I knew how to look at certain signs. And the acupressure points that they mentioned in the course, that was great as well, because that was easy for me to practice, to know where the spot was and then know on the day then where we did it. And I'd definitely say when a big event like this is coming up, you really need to be prepared and you want evidence-based information. So do a workshop, and Gentle Birth is definitely the one I found was amazing. And obviously, because you can't do it all on your own, I'd say make sure you get a doula, because the doula was essential for me to enjoy that whole experience. Those two experiences would have been so different without the doula.
Oftentimes when parents are planning a home birth, there's questions about, well, do I really need a doula if I have my midwife there? So did you find that extra support was important to you?
Oh God, amazing support. I definitely couldn't have done it without. Like, Gwen was able to be there to support me and Mary, whereas the midwife was there to support, I suppose, the birth of the baby. So she was able to help me with the pool. And so, like, one stage I was in the pool with Mary, which was really nice experience. And so it meant then Gwen was able to run around and do all the other bits and pieces, like get food. She was able to look after Mary when I was sleeping, and so for the first birth, it went on so long. If I hadn't got the first few hours of sleep on the Wednesday evening, or the Thursday morning, I wouldn't have been any help by Thursday evening. And so that in itself was just amazing for me to have that support. And Mary enjoyed it as well. Like, the doula didn't get in the way. She was very much there on the sidelines, but offered advice, jumped in when I wasn't thinking of certain things. And yeah, I'd definitely recommend a doula. I can't, if you can afford one, definitely consider one.
Moving on to the postpartum, when you're getting ready to have your baby, where there's so much focus on just getting through labor, and we tend to forget that there is this huge transition that you're about to go through in not just, physically, you're welcoming this baby into your home and you've got a car seat and all the baby stuff, but it's a huge transition in your relationship as well with your partner and breastfeeding. Talk to us a little bit about, I guess, some tips for dads to support mom in the postpartum period when you've had your baby and either you're at home in your bed after your home birth or you've just come home from the hospital. Did you find that really an intense time? Tell us a little bit about your experiences of that postpartum period.
Yeah, and that's something that I suppose you don't realise it till you actually live it. And the postpartum for us on the first one, when we came back from the hospital with Sive, my family had come around and tidied up the house and everything for us, so that when we came in, we were only in the hospital for we were there for about 6 hours. But in those 6 hours, they were able to have everything organised. They had dinner for us, and that was amazing support for us. But then they disappeared. They saw Sive, hung around for maybe half an hour, and then they just let us be ourselves in our own home. And that was lovely. And the doula was still there, and so she was offering Mary support and making sure she was okay. And she just gave us tips on how to have the baby in the house, because we just weren't really prepared for it. As excited we were about doing the whole baby thing, we just didn't realise that when the baby arrives, she's here. And I suppose the family are essential support but you need also the family to know the boundaries of stepping in and stepping out. And we were so lucky to have that. And I was off work. I could only take a week off work. And so afterwards, Mary was able to call on family and friends to support her while I was at work. A friend came down and she stayed for a week with us. And so she cooked dinners while I was at work. The midwife, she called around and was offering breastfeeding support to Mary and giving her some advice and tips, because again, it's not the simple, I suppose, latch on sometimes, and it wasn't like that for Sive. So the midwife was great support there, and the doula was able to give us advice, and even when she went home she was checking in, and it was just amazing. So definitely, yeah, for postpartum, it is the reality of you've now a new baby in the house and you really need to have supports in place. So having dinners ready, I did that for the second time round. We had meals ready. We had friends calling in with food rather than clothing, and we had all kinds of stuff. Baby clothing, actually, I should say. They weren't buying clothes for us, but yeah, definitely postpartum is something that you need to put as much effort into considering what that is, I think, as much as what the birth process is.
Great, thanks for that, David, because I think it's an important aspect. I know even my own experience 15 years ago with Jack, there was a huge shock to the system of, okay, this baby is here now, and trying to really adjust in as quickly as you can to this new little being that has your washing machine running 24 hours a day, and you're not sleeping. And I think any extra support that you can have in the postpartum period, whether it's, get yourself a postpartum doula, have support from your partner if they can take more time off, I think it's really fantastic, just to help everybody really adjust and settle in, because it's the biggest transition of your adult life. I don't think we put enough focus on the postpartum as we do as the birth preparation.
Yeah, and I know it's a whole conversation on its own, but like even for the breastfeeding support that we had to consider, because Mary was trying to, I suppose, develop that attachment with the baby, that in itself takes hours, and you don't realise it until you actually have to participate in it. And so that, I think, to give the new mother the time to enjoy that, or time to focus on that, is great, rather than her worrying about having to cook dinners or tidy the house. And
I think as well, for those moms who are breastfeeding, what advice would you give to the partners or the dads who really want to be involved but maybe aren't involved in the feeding aspect? So how did you bond with your babies?
Well, I suppose I did when Mary was having a shower. We did a lot of the attachment, like I kept Sive in a sling as long as possible, so that she enjoyed, and Oren, I suppose the two of them were the same. And so I was able to do certain things like basic cooking around the house, and with them in my arms, and so Mary could have a shower or she could have a little nap while she was doing that. I was able to do some meal cooking so that Mary didn't have to be worrying about that. And I suppose I made sure that Mary was able to get some food for herself, because the breastfeeding takes a lot of energy out of her. So like we were trying to make sure, I suppose my job was to feed Mary and make sure she gets some rest, because she was feeding throughout the night, I was sleeping, and then I just made sure that in the morning then she would have easy access to food or something. So I'd be getting up before going to work and making sure that she has hot waters or tea and coffee. Well, she wasn't drinking coffee, but she'd have the hot drinks and some snacks beside the bed, so that if the baby was feeding for a couple of hours, that she'd be able to relax there and not worry about having to do any of that. And we really just geared the house towards, this is the baby's home now, and so we have to make sure Mary can do as much as she can for the baby without having to put too much effort into it herself. And so so dads definitely have meals ready, feed the mother so that she can feed the baby. I think that's the key phrase there.
Thanks so much for joining us today, David. Great tips for all birth partners getting ready to welcome their new babies into their families. Did you want to mention a website, talk about your wife's business, and give a shout out maybe to your Homebirth midwife?
Oh, yeah. So we had two Homebirth midwives, so Mary Cronin and Elle-Marie Coleman. They were absolutely brilliant. And so anybody that's interested in Cork, they have a website, Cork and Kerry Homebirth Midwives. Mary's business, after the baby, Mary got really involved in the birth world, and so she now has a doula business, so Doula Care Ireland, so doulacare.ie if anybody's interested. And she also has the Birthing Mamas one, which she started off many years ago, and she does the gentle birth classes as well. So that's anybody that's interested there, yeah, essential oils. She does her own essential oil blend still.
Thanks again, David, for sharing lots of great tips and information, and hopefully reassuring for all those dads-to-be that are listening in.
Great, no problem. I'm glad you asked me, Tracy.
Thanks, David.
No problem. Bye.